All right, so this is the second part of the first video, and I'm gonna read on an article that's called "The Tensions Between Biblical Masculinity and Toxic Masculinity." It goes on to say, a biblical understanding of masculinity answered both styles, crumbling lines, and the perceived effects of toxic masculinity. The matter of concern here is not necessarily what clothes are worn, but what is said when they are worn. This blurring of lines between male and female is not revolutionary. It is an attempt to stray away from Yahweh's order for sexuality by breaking down any guidelines set in place. Sexual ambiguity is not bravery, as it is often praised to be, but it is indulgence in sin. The word indulgence means the act or fact of indulging. Let's get a little better definition than that. Satisfying yourself, gratifying yourself, fulfilling the flesh. That would be indulgence. Let's go back. It says, satisfying the sin. The biblical man is expected to be clearly masculine, not questionably masculine or clearly feminine. And that's the main point here of this article. The biblical man as opposed to the worldly man, as opposed to the worldly woman. The biblical man is expected to be clearly masculine. Clear masculinity. Not questionably masculine or clearly feminine. So the question relies on what is biblical. What is a biblical man? Right? It says it doesn't mean you have to chop wood and drink coffee without cream and sugar. It simply means in whatever you wear and do, see to it that no one doubts your sexuality. And that's pretty implied, simple implications. See to it that no one doubts his sexuality, which is why the beard in the Bible dictionary symbolizes a badge of manly dignity. Keep a beard, you don't keep a line up. Brothers, just if anything, you trim your hair, you might, cut short a little bit, under hair, and, but you're not taking no razor to your head, your throat, no 5 o'clock shadows, so forth and so on. You watch you watch your diet, you do exercise. Brothers ain't ashamed to speak in their deep voices and, speak loud on the street corners, and even representing the Lord on the street corners. There's a certain way in which, there's a certain amount of masculinity it takes to do that. Biblical masculinity addresses more than just clothes. It completely dismantles the toxic masculinity that the world understands today. Rather than being tough, stern, and rash, the biblical man should walk in love, Ephesians 5:2. And ain't nothing wrong with being tough. Ain't nothing wrong with being stern. Ain't nothing wrong with being rash, as long as you're being it in sincerity, and you could do that out of love. You could be tough and rash and stern out of love. These two aren't contradictory. It's all right, and then the scripture it gives is Ephesians. Let's get that, Ephesians 5:2. Let's get that. It says, and walk in love, as Yahweh also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Yahweh for the sweet smelling savor. We're going to get into more of Yahweh and that love that he walked into. It says he should be a prime example of gentleness, patience, and self-control. Agreed. He definitely was gentle in his own way and patient in his own way. The definition of it, not according to today. Galatians 5:22 and 23 says, But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. Which we love that amongst the brotherhood. That balance is a perfect balance with brothers. Joy. These scriptures will bring you that. And ultimately, when all of the worldliness is rooted and purged out of you, you become more completely reliant on the Spirit of the Lord to take over you. You do have a lot of joy. It says he was resilient in the pursuit of Yahweh, gentle in the spirit and humble in the service of others. But what begins to happen is this this gentle spirit and the gentleness and the walking in love begins to be have a different definition for the people that use it today, walking in love, because the Pride people talk about walking in love. Pride Month talks about gentleness, and so what are we really talking about? Get along with everybody, being tolerant of wickedness. Was Yahushua tolerant of wickedness? When did he become ungentle? When did he become rough? When he had to. He was resilient in the pursuit of Yahweh, gentle in spirit and humble in service to others, according to the Bible, and by the example of Yahushua. Masculinity is humble leadership. It is sacrificial love and incredible meekness. Our society needs revitalized masculinity, which it won't get revitalized masculinity in the form of biblical principles being established. It will get revitalized in the form of ICBM nuclear missiles, and it get purged away. Second Peter goes into how they was waiting for the promise of their fathers. The scoffers were mocking and saying, "Where's the promise of your fathers?" Since the days are old, everything continues the way it is. And then Peter breaks down that how the world was first done away with. It was first the people were first perished by way of water through the flood, and how they forget that the Most High destroyed the world first by flood, and now he's going to do it a second time by fire. So that's how he's going to get that revitalized. All right, because revitalized means imbue with new life and vitality. And so America is not going to get that facelift of masculinity it's looking for, but it's going to get a facelift in the sense of thermonuclear warfare. We need masculinity that will treat women with honor, pride, honesty, and fight for the sake of the vulnerable, rather than removing all boundaries for masculinity or clinging to a toxic version of it. Biblical masculinity is rooted in a dedicated imitation of Yahushua. Let's get into the second article, which I really enjoy reading. Lord willing, you brothers will enjoy it as well. It says, Christmas, the article is called That Tough Guy from Nazareth, a psychological assessment of Yahushua. I'm going to just breeze through it. Christmas gives us that sweet little Jesus boy. And Lent follows with that gentle Jesus, meek and mild. He was neither of those. I wouldn't say he didn't have any gentle side to him. He washed the disciples' feet. All right. He didn't curse out the woman who was washing his feet. All right. It says, in point of fact, he was the tough guy from Nazareth. But he was tough. Yahushua was tough in any which way, especially mentally. He was consistently abrasive. That word abrasive means capable of polishing or cleaning a hard surface by, abrasive, second definition says, showing little concern for the feelings of others, harsh. All right, so it considers Yahushua to be abrasive, which is the contrast of that little sweet little Jesus, right? It says, if not abusive to his mother, Luke 2:24, 2:49, and that's the scripture where Yahushua told his mother, it says here, right, Luke 2:49, and he said unto them, how is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I was about my father's business? This is when his mother was asking for him. It says, his parents. When his parents saw him, verse 48, they were astonished. Child, why have you done this to us? His mother asked. Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you. He was 12. He said, why were you looking for me? He asked, did you not know that I had to be in my father's house? All right. He's about his father's house, about his business. That's what Yahushua told his mother. I'm about my father's business. Come on. Why are you even looking for me? So that abrasiveness, okay, that's a side of Yahushua that they don't really tell you about when they talk about sweet Mary, and he had an abrasive side to him, especially dealing with his mom in Matthew 12:48. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren? Because they stood without, waiting to desire and to speak to him while he was talking to the multitudes. And it says, and he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. Whosoever shall do the will of my Father, which is in heaven, the same as my brother and sister and mother. So he told his mom and his brother straight up, y'all not even my brothers. You're not my mom. Here's my mom. And he pointed to his disciples, those that believe. And so he wasn't hesitant to separate the real from the fake, or so he, hesitant to create a new family, a family in the work. All right, the family that labor with him, and aggressively hard on males, particularly those in authority. In Mark 8, he cursed and damned Peter for failing to get Yahushua's esoteric definition of Messiah correct. Right, and he got on Peter. We all know that. Called Peter the devil, basically. Satan, get thee behind me, Satan. Nobody else understood it either. Yahushua made it up himself and not adequately explained it to anybody until then. So some of the sayings that Yahushua said was so deep and profound at that time weren't easily understood, and his disciples was they was rebuked for it. So Yahushua even rebuked his close friends. It says he called the religious authorities snakes, corrupt tombs, filthy chinawares, fakes, right? He said whited sepulchres and snakes and vipers. Fakes, hypocrites, and Mosaic legalists who had forgotten God's law, God's real revelation of universal grace and salvation in the Abraham covenant. So Yahushua had, when he came through like stone cold, kicking down doors, man. All right, kicking the door, waving the 4-4, figuratively, right? Because he's seen it. He's seen the fakes for what they were. He's seen the snakes, and those were the religious authorities, wicked Pharisees and Sadducees at that time that he went head to head with. It says he tore up the temple in the middle of a worship service and cursed those present for turning God's house of prayer into a den of thieves when they actually were kind, helping out town tourists obtain the proper sacrifices for the liturgical rituals, which was completely false. Now they starting to paint a narrative that Yahushua was just a madman. Listen, Yahushua had every reason to tear up that worship service, all right, at the temple, because they was teaching heresies, and then when he turned up the temple, he said, "Don't make my the Lord's house a den of thieves." He was justifying his actions, because what they would do, if you understand the time frame, sacrifices was made at the temple daily, and people who were traveling to, foreigners coming to Jerusalem to worship and sacrifice, would have to change their money, and the money changers were at the temple, changing money inside the temple, all right, which was a no, okay. But they was exchanging money so that they can purchase people from outside currency could purchase goats and rams and livestock to sacrifice, turtle doves and whatnot to sacrifice for offering. And what they was doing, is reported in history, they were cheating the people out of their money. So the currency rate, they was cheating them out of their due money, and making exorbitant profit off of some of the people who were just coming to worship and buy animals to sacrifice. They was making merchandise out of them. It says Yahushua, right here, Yahushua was as persistently aggressive, often angry, and not infrequently irrational. And this is the story in which they depicted Yahushua before they killed him. This is the same narrative. This person was probably amongst those who were amongst the Lord saying, "Crucify him." Killing an innocent fig tree with his curse. Right, that fig tree wouldn't put forth figs. It had no figs on it, and so the Lord cursed it. And wasn't nothing innocent about it. It's a tree. It says, for example, he constantly attacked the Pharisees and their proposal for renewing the spiritual vitality of the Jewish community. Sound like a Pharisee wrote this. He abused numerous people by healing them on the Sabbath. Just the fact that they said he abused people by healing them lets you know, like, these people, they trying hard to make Yahushua look as bad as he possibly could, but that's how bad they made him look in order to crucify him. They had to, create a narrative that he was just a wild man of Nazareth. And that's why Yahushua, as rough and as austere as he was, he did it in righteousness, knowing that he was the anointed, the Messiah, and that these people was deliberately refusing to acknowledge that. Then on the Sabbath, just to make his point, political point against the religious leaders. So they say he was just healing people just to make his point, like he didn't care about the people he was healing. Like, how could you prove that? How could you justify that he wasn't just killing two birds with one stone? He usually heals people. Some of the miracles that he did are not recorded in the scriptures. And in fact, the scriptures tell you, had they been recorded, there would have been not enough space for all the books there would have been enough books or enough room for all of the books to contain those things in which he has done as miracles on earth. He could just as well have healed them on a Tuesday. This guy is a scoffer. If he really wanted to heal them, by healing the blind man in John 9 on the Sabbath, for example, he caused the man to be driven out of his synagogue, his family, and his community of faith, isolated and abandoned as if he were a leper. By the way, when you come to serve the Lord, prepare thyself for temptation. I'm sure that blind man would rather have sight than have some of these people, false people, who would rather him not be healed. And if his family felt such an offense that he was healed on the Sabbath, not to deal with him and abandon him from that point on, he's better off without him. And that's where the sentiment that we all have as believers is that, whoever ain't with us and they against us. Yahushua said himself, bring them here who will not serve me. And I'll deal with them with the sword. So he's going to punish a lot of the non-believers. That's all the sinners of my people that shall die. That goes without saying. So you kind of got to be in a mindset anyway that, you're leaving people behind in this truth by believing. You're leaving them behind. The Lord is going to pave out a way for you to receive salvation and not minister that entrance to glory to them, but minister to you, to his saints. Even when he has said surprising things about children, his focus was not on the children, but on his disciples, using the children as tools for making an assertive teaching point. And this is what they would say about Yahushua if he was here today, or this is what they said about him 2,000 years ago. Exact same things. He wasn't with those children because he loves children. He was trying to prove a point. It was all about his, as if you can't kill two birds with one stone. It's ridiculous. Yahushua's life was one of perpetually aggressive claims for his vision of God's reign. And that's what he did. Yeah, he boldly came to the throne, and he requires that all men boldly come to the throne. It says he constantly and intentionally provoked conflict and disruption of the status quo. You know what the status quo mean? It basically is a Latin term to keep all things the same, right? So if the status quo is that Negroes inhabit the jail more than all other peer groups, that's the status quo is what keeps that the same. It's called, another word for it is institutional segregation, or like statutory. I forget the name of it, but it means things stay the same. It says is the existing state of affairs, particularly in regard to social, political, religious, and military issues. If your family voted Democrat, you vote Democrat. If your mother was a Roman Catholic, you were Roman Catholic. That's just status quo stuff. And that's what this truth does. It breaks up the status quo. Yahushua came and intentionally provoked conflict and disrupted the status quo. Why? Because they was wicked. If this person if they stepped out of the lens of the wicked Pharisees and Sadducees, you would understand that the wicked were saying these very same things, and that they're going to get judged on Judgment Day. It says spiritually and politically. So Yahushua didn't care about who was in authority at that time. He said he could call down legions of angels and destroyed Rome and all of that if he wanted to. But the Most High, the Father, Yahweh, his Father, is dramatic in nature, in which he designed for Yahushua to come in such a dramatic way, which was humble as a lamb, still having his moments in which he had to, which he had to serve, which he had to get busy, but still coming humble as a lamb, but so that he can come back like a wrathful lion. All right, in these days that we were looking forward to it. He refused to negotiate, compromise, palliate, says to make less severe or unpleasant to make less severe. He didn't back down or mollify his insistence, appease the anger or anxiety of his insistence upon keeping his elbow perpetually in the eye of the people in power. Yeah, that's how it shot, man. Real renegade, real revolutionary, true revolutionary of the nation of Israel. And all this, he would not back down. That's the bottom line about Yahushua. That's what isn't being pushed when you hear about the sweet little Jesus boy. You hear about gentle Jesus, meek Jesus. You don't ever hear about the side, which is proof that as a man, when you're dealing with masculinity, it's a balance. What we talking about? It's a balance at the end of the day. All right, just as much as you go to the gym, you push iron 250 pounds above your chest 7 times, and nobody got a problem with that. Nobody got a problem with you sprinting, running, training, military men, training, and people when you go into war. Ain't nobody gonna tell you to, don't attack them, don't hurt them, like you Batman or somebody. No, they're gonna tell you to go crazy. Well, just as it's expected for men to be violent when we have to be. And then, for the rest of the time to be, sweet and gentle. Well, Yahushua came as that man, and as that masculine man, the man as what's his name? Put it again, Jordan Peterson. A man is a good man, knows how to be violent, and knows how to be meek, knows how to be gentle. It's that balance. When. Right? The scriptures tell you not to be a lion in your own household, so that, but it also tells you if a man comes in your house at nighttime, you have every right to put him to death. It says the principle by which Yahushua operated was absolute, and that is why he did not back down, even though they killed him for this very reason. His principle was simply that the renewal of Jewish spirituality could only come from a return to the Abrahamic covenant, which declared, Genesis 12, Romans 8, that Yahweh is gracious and universally forgiving toward all humankind. When you throw in humankind in there, you get a little off kilter, and it's that word will throw you through a loop, and it's a stumbling block, because we understand now that he came for Israel and Israelites who are also practicing other religions and hadn't turned back to the Lord yet. Unconditional to our conduct and behavior, and radically in that it removes all fear, guilt, and shame from the equation of our relationship with Yahweh. Micah 7:18 and 20. Let's see what that says real quick. It says, who is like Yahweh? Who is a power like you? Who pardons sin and forgives the transgressions of the remnant of his inheritance? You do not stay angry forever, but delight to show mercy. You will again have compassion on us. You will tread our sins underfoot and hurl our iniquities into the depths of the sea. You will be faithful to Jacob, that's the Israelites, and show love to Abraham, because the lineage, the true line, the true birth, the line, the lineage goes through Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. And that's why it includes Jacob and Abraham in the same sentence. It says, as you pledged an oath to our ancestors in the days long ago. So the oath is what's carried through all the way up to the time of the Lord. Wicked Pharisees and scribes, they understood the oath, they taught the oath, they spoke about the oath, but they didn't live by the oath. And Yahushua basically showed them that, the relationship with the Father isn't hypocritical as in nature, but it was about believing on the Son. And that's how the Lord showed his grace to his people by sending his son. He saw that the Pharisees and scribes were absolutely wrong in assuming that the Mosaic legal system would renew the Jews' relationship with Yahweh. So it comes down to mercy and grace instead of a keeping of the law. It says he was not gentle, Yahweh Shah, meek and mild. He was that tough guy from Nazareth. Yeah, good reason. Now they with him now by the end of the article. He had good reason, and he was willing to go to the distance for what he stood for, even to the death of the cross. And when you speak about going the distance, that's what being a man and masculinity is all about. Job 38:3. Gird up your loins like thy loins like a man. And that's what you do before you fight. You gird up your loins. You tie up all the garments together so they don't trip you up for that fight. You raise them above your legs so that you have you don't get tripped over your garments. But I will demand of thee and answer thou me. So men is supposed to know you're supposed to know what it means to be like a man. All right. Masculinity is supposed to be understood. Isaiah 46:8. Remember this and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors. 1 Maccabees 2:64. Wherefore, ye my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall you obtain glory. And to be valiant and to show yourselves men, it doesn't come with any definitions of what that might mean, because we were taught by men and we knew how men behaved, and there wasn't any variations of manhood at that time. But you go back into the scriptures and seek out the old paths to understand what manhood really looked like. 1 Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. That's about when you come into this truth, because you get born again when you come into this truth. You can be 35 years old and get born again. And then your thought and your mindset gets purified like the lawnmower man. It becomes sharper and sharper as to what things the Most High wants you to, which ways the Most High wants you to be. All right, when I became a man, see there, not in age but in mind frame. A man puts away childish things. All right, and the definition here of a childish, infant, metaphorical, childish, untaught, unskilled, simple-minded person, immature Christian, babe. So obviously, once you be born again, and then that's the beginning of you put away childish things. Brethren, be not children in understanding. It's about your mind frame. That's where manhood starts at, your mind frame. That's why they show you these images to break down your mind of what a male is and try to change your understanding of what a male should be. They're trying to body that image, that biblical image of a male. Howbeit in malice be ye children. When it comes to malice, malicious deeds, evil, wickedness, naughtiness, all right, wickedness that is not ashamed to break laws, be ye children, but in understanding be ye men. So when it comes to understanding, which means faculty perceiving and judging, the mind or cognitive faculties, all right, understanding, being able to mentally appreciate holy things and righteous things, be ye men. All right, and the man, all right, it says brought to his end, wanting nothing necessary to completeness, perfect, of full age, man, aka perfect, aka completeness. See, a man is complete, a child is incomplete. Full grown, mature. A child is immature, a man is mature. Maturity also is another word for maturity, is complete, fully developed. And we dealing with, it says physically, but mentally is a part of that too. Maturity is a mental thing, as well as a physical. So it's not just talking about age here, it's talking about your mind frame of a man, of an adult male, a complete, matured male, which doesn't think in a childlike manner. children in intellect. You're not immature. You're not half grown anymore in your mind frame. Right? 1 Corinthians 16:13. Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men. To act manly, that word here. To make a man or make brave. So bravery has anything to do with being a man. And what's a brave thing to do? The scripture talk about present your bodies as a living sacrifice. Present your body, right, as a living sacrifice, meaning being out there in the highways and hedges and teaching everything that the apostles did, everything that the disciples did to prove that they believed, to prove themselves to the Lord. Quit you like men. Be strong. So once again, when you're dealing with so-called toxic masculinity, they said teaching men to be too strong and always to be strong. There's a time when you better be strong, and the time is now, because it tells you we're watching for something. All right, we're waiting for something. We have to be ready for something. Stand fast, persevere, stand firm, keep one standing, persistent. So we're ready. We're ready to attack, as a man would be, who is waiting for an event. Faithful unto death, one of the Lord's other attributes that is manly, as far along with bravery. Second Maccabees 7:1. It came to pass also that the 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. That's bravery. Why were they tormented? Because they were were against the law of the king, which was to taste swine's flesh, right? Trying to get all Israelites to break the law, which, fast forward back to the first article, dealing with Lil Nas X and this other guy, Harry Styles, and how traditional masculinity and biblical representation of masculinity is being pushed away, pushed out, and blurred out to make room for the new design of the new order of masculinity, which is more similar to feminine energy. All right, and emasculation. You can see it from miles away. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of Yahweh. And the dead in Yahushua shall rise first. The dead in Yahushua, those that are persecuted, many shall be put to death for this word. You must understand. Because Yahushua was that first example of someone who was put to death. And what did he do? Go around healing, go around teaching, go around refuting the false leaders. And just that whole vibration of, I'm against all of this. Going against the grain. Fear, Revelation 2:10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Which is a powerful statement to make. You haven't even suffered the things that you're not supposed to, but you're not supposed to fear them, even though you didn't even suffer. That means you're going into the battlefield with the knowledge that you will suffer, and still you don't fear it. See, because they want you to fear. Fear will eat away at you. Fear is an imbalance, brings imbalance to a brave mind. Fear brings instability to a believing mind. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison. Now we know that prison is involved in the future of those who are believers. According to Yahushua's words, that you may be tried, and you know that's a trial period. And so whatever situation comes about, you understand that it's a trial period and a test of your faith. You no longer are just being persecuted for no reason. It's the white man doing it. Well, of course, the Lord is using different men to do this. However, this is a trial period nonetheless. It doesn't matter at whom hands it comes from. To be tried means to be examined, to go about, to prove. Let's get in the spirit of proving ourselves again. Discipline. You want to be a disciple, you need discipline. To try whether a thing can be done, to make a trial of, to test. And that's basically what's been happening. You're involved in a big test. The Lord tests too. You thought you were done with tests? No, you're not. And you shall have tribulation 10 days, which is 10 is a number of completion. Signifies completion. The Bible deals with numbers. Numbers mean things. The Bible deals with names, and names mean things. But be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So that's the type of faith it takes, the one that's faithful unto death, meaning unto the end, right? Until your soul will leave your body. And what's to happen ultimately? When the Lord said, I will change you in the twinkling of an eye, some of you shall be changed. Well, that's the soul leaving the body as well. So regardless, your soul will leave this body one way or another. Revelation 6:9, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altars the souls of them that were slain for the word of Yahweh and for the testimony which they held. Slain, killed for the word, not for the block, for the word of God, and for the testimony which you held. Part of that testimony, living up to, is not taking that MOTB. Revelation 14:13, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, yea, save the spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. Revelation 24, and I saw the thorns of them that sat upon them, and they sat upon them. And judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. A witness, you go into that word. It's also the Greek word for martyr. You see here, martyria, martyr. So a witness is technically, a martyr is technically a witness. A testifying witness. That's what a witness does. He testifies. What are you doing? You're testifying of the Lord. The office committed to the prophets of testifying concerning future events. There it is. So you know who he's dealing with. The men on the corners testifying concerning future events, i.e. Great Millstone and all the rest of the camps prophesying the truth of the scriptures according to the Bible. Beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, the martyrs, the prophets, teaching about prophecy, and for the word of Yahweh, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark, still the word charagma, to cut, incision, graven, and printed mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. It's completion. Endurance. Behold, I have refined thee. Endurance. From the Latin enduro, meaning durable. Isaiah 48:10, behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. Most High wants to punish you and make you suffer to prove yourself. That's a test. To prove yourself. That's a test. Set thy heart aright, Ecclesiastes 2:2. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Verse 14, woe unto you that have lost patience. What will ye do in the day when the Lord shall visit you? Matthew 24:13, but ye shall endure unto the end, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. With salvation, which is to save a suffering one from perishing. All right, to save a suffering one from perishing. To preserve one who is in danger of destruction. To save in the technical biblical sense. To save from the evils which obstruct the receptance, right? That's more spiritual, figurative, because you could be figuratively saved as well as which we are now, saved from ourselves. But salvation in the form of from destruction is yet to come. That's future prophecy. All right. And so we got to endure. Lastly, reproving, rebuking, which Yahushua did. All of these things he did, he does, he exhibited, he was the captain of. Scriptures say, Proverbs 9:9, give instruction to a wise man, he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, he will increase in learning. We're supposed to instruct and teach. Rebuke a wise man, he will love me. We're supposed to rebuke. Proverbs 15:10, correction is grievous to him that forsaketh the way. Forsake the way, you're not going to want correction. Simple and plain. It has nothing to do with how we breaking it down, how rough and austere we may look. It had nothing to do with Yahushua, how rough and austere he was. It was always about them wanting to forsake the way. And he that hateth reproof shall die. Open rebuke, Proverbs 27:5. Open rebuke is better than secret love. So we understand Yahushua did it the right way. And that's why his words reign supreme to this day. That's why nobody looking out for the Pharisees and Sadducees that were against him. Their names doesn't matter. The name of Yahushua matters because he was the Messiah. And he is the one that's coming back to restore the kingdom to his children. Lord willing, this video is edifying. Till next time, Shalom.